This is problem number 5 from the Chapter 8 closure packet. Find the coordinates of the x-intercepts and y-intercept of y equals x squared minus 2x minus 15. Show all of the work that you used to find these points. Make sure you're showing your work. So we need to find the x-intercepts and the y-intercept. Okay? So x-intercept, that's when y equals 0, and the y-intercept is when x equals 0. It's basically the opposite letter is the number that is going to be 0. So let's start with our x-intercept. So I'm going to plug in y is 0, so I'm replacing this y with a 0. Alright, so I'm going to have my equation like that. This is in standard form. So from standard form, to find the x-intercepts, I'm going to factor this, which is with the generic rectangle and the diamond. Okay. So I'm going to put x squared in the bottom left corner, the minus 15 in the top right, and then do my kind of modified diamond here. I multiply these two to get the top of the diamond, so that'll be negative 15 x squared. And then the bottom of the diamond comes from the middle term up here, so the minus 2x. Make sure those signs, the symbols, like the plus or minus sign, that's really important to carry that down into this part of the diamond. So think of things that multiply to basically 15, then we can kind of figure out the positive and negative signs. So 3 and 5 make to be positive 15, but I need negative 15. So one of them has to be negative, and it depends, because I'm trying to make negative 2 when I add them. So if I have negative 5 and positive 3, those multiply to be negative 15, yes. And if I add these together, it does give me negative 2. So these are going to be the things I put back into my box in either of the two openings. It doesn't matter which one you put them in. I now need to find the outsides, the dimensions of this rectangle. So I'm looking for things they have in common. That's how I think about it. So this column right here, they both have an x. So I'm going to put an x. They both do not have a number that they can be divided by except the number 1. Moving on to the next column, both of these numbers, negative 15 and negative 5, can both be divided by negative 5. They both do not have an x, so I cannot put an x down here. Okay? Then moving sideways, this is kind of, well, what does this have to be in order to make this true? Blank times x is x squared. That has to be an x. And checking that that works for this one, x times negative 5, that works for here. Last little outside dimension, x times blank is 3x, so that should be a 3. Checking it works for the last one. 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. Yes, everything works there. So now I'm going to write 0 equals, because it's still the same thing. All I did is change this side of the equation into my products, which means the things in parentheses. So I just rewrote it from this standard form into this factored form. Now the zero product property says I can set each of these equal to 0. I need to set both of them equal to 0 because, well, why does it have to be the first one only? It could have been this one instead. So I'm going to bring this up here. This is still to find my x-intercepts. Probably label that so you know what I'm doing. So now I'm going to set x plus 3 equals 0, and then x minus 5 equals 0. So each of the parentheses gets set equal to 0. So then I'm going to subtract 3. So I'll get x equals negative 3. That's one of my x-intercepts. And if I add 5, I'll get x equals positive 5 for the other one. And you can also write these as points. So it would be negative 3, 0, and then 5, 0. So it's good to know which way you want it to be written as. I'd say both of those are good. You can't go wrong with having both of those possibilities. So that's to find the x-intercept. For the y-intercept, we already said that's when x is 0. So I'm going to plug in each of these x's is going to be a 0 now. So y equals 0 squared minus 2 times 0 minus 15. Okay. So this will be a 0. This becomes 0 minus 15. So basically I only have my very end number of minus 15 for my y-intercept. Okay. And again, we can write this as a point. The point would be 0, negative 15, if you want to write that as a coordinate. Okay, so that's from given standard form. How do you find each of the intercepts, the x-intercept and the y-intercept? We're going to factor and then plug in 0 for basically the opposite letter.